I've been writing poems for years for children, always for children, and I've got lots of poems in different anthologies and magazines for children. And I just felt, well, the time has come to do something with these poems and with all these ideas that keep bubbling up in my head. So it was a big thrill when I got the green light, yes, to go ahead and do this animal book, which ended up being called Squeak, Squawk, Roar. Well, I've always loved animals, and they're just so fascinating and fun, and they offer so much. They're so, that you can find everything in the animal kingdom to write about and to share with children and to help them discover the wonders, really, of nature and the creatures around us. And, you can just make your poem any kind of poem you like to fit the different creatures. So you might have a long twisty one about a snake, perhaps in that shape. You might have a crazy funny one about some animal that strikes you as a bit comical, and a mysterious or spooky or creepy one about something that you wouldn't want to get too close to. Crosserus rhinoceros. Rhinoceros is crosserus. She'd like to be the boss of us. If she could choose, we'd be in zoos, all gobbled up like sausages. When I was born, the family cat ran away, apparently, which wasn't a great start. But then we had our dachshund, Maxie, which actually comes into the book. And he was just an adorable, lovely dog, very cheeky, and has always sort of stayed with me in character. I've always remembered him. Later on, as a teenager, I lived near a zoo, and at night I could hear the shrieks and howls of animals in captivity. I think they were probably fine. That's just how animals sound sometimes, but they disturbed me. Those sounds did disturb me and made me more aware of how important animal welfare is. And now, as an adult, I live out here in the Welsh countryside with cows and sheep and horses all around me in the fields, and it just suits me down to the ground. And I just want to share some of the delights that I get in my life through wildlife and nature with children. Soon after I started writing for children, I also started going into schools and doing poetry workshops for children. And I should think I've now visited, hundreds and hundreds of schools. That must be thousands of classrooms. And quite often I go into a class and some child will come up and say, "Miss, I can't do poetry," or "I don't like poems," or "Miss, I can't write." And I say, "Well, can you write your name?" "Oh, fine, great, you'll be brilliant." And you know what? It's very often that child or those few that at the end of the session I have to beg them, "Come on, the bell has gone, you've got to stop writing, I'm sorry, it's time for your break." And you don't want to stop. And that is just such a joy. I think they think that poetry is something difficult and strange and has to be profound and weird in some way. When they find out that it's really just a matter of choosing words that you like, putting them together, not necessarily in any particular order, just in a way that sounds nice to you. They don't have to rhyme. You don't have to get your spelling right. You don't have to write tidily. I tell them, all that is fine, don't worry about it. You can always tidy it up later. Let's just have some fun. Well, once they realise that, they relax. And I'm very often amazed when I stop, when I put down the book, to see their eyes just watching me and absorbing the words. And those words and ideas very often come out again in the poems that they write for me. Not that I've told them to use those ideas, quite the opposite, but they've taken them in, absorbed them, maybe turned somersaults with them in their mind and done something else with them. So I wrote these poems to entertain children, but also to discover more about poetry and just how fun and accessible it is, how meaningful it can be to them, and maybe get them writing too. And of course, reading. Some of these poems are very short, and a reluctant or hesitant reader will suddenly find that they are reading before they even noticed it. And that for me is key. It's one of the great reasons for writing short, snappy, fun, punchy poems about amazing things that you want to share. Just to get kids thinking, wow, hey, this book is for me. I do like reading. I love it. I want to write my own poems. It's all part and parcel of why I write for children. I often walk up the fields behind my house to get a bit of fresh air and inspiration. And I often see sheep on those walks. So here's a poem about sheep. There once was a sheep called Rover, who tired of chewing the clover. He skipped the stile, strode a mile, and took a world cruise from Dover. The rest of his grazing bunch paused to gobble mid-munch. Mad, they agreed, daft indeed, and carried on with their lunch. You might catch sight of Rover in the Maldives or Moldova, sat in the sun, enjoying the fun, and sampling a peach pavlova. The book is Squeak, Squawk, Roar, published by Otter-Barry Books, with fabulous illustrations by Hannah Asen. There are 54 poems in the book about animals of all sorts, mice to elephants, insects to birds in the sky and ocean creatures. You name it, it's there.